The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten-free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
From the kids to Aunt Sue, keep your whole family connected on all their devices with crowd-pleasing gig speed internet from Xfinity. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Go online, call 1-800-XFINITY or visit today. Restrictions apply. Actual speed vary and not guaranteed.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. McLean Company has a career for you. McLean driver teammates have guts, grit, and a go-getter attitude, and they're looking for more of it. McLean offers an average first-year pay of $55,000 to $65,000 a year, health benefits on day one, and an industry-leading 401k plan. And experienced drivers may receive up to a $10,000 sign-on bonus. To learn more, visit driveforbrooklyncenter.com. That's driveforbrooklyncenter.com. McLean Company is an equal opportunity employer.
All right, Michael, we got to start with whatever grandiose hotel suite you have in one of your home states. I know when you go to Florida, you get treated like a king. So just go ahead, tell me about the the bidet and the lounge and the gold furniture and everything else you're subjected to when you're in Florida.
No bidet, no lounge. I stayed at the Marriott Harbor Beach, which is a resort, and usually resorts, at least that resort doesn't have a lounge. But they gave me an unbelievable suite, couple balconies looking over the ocean. It's definitely one of my favorite hotels to stay at. I didn't get to really take advantage of the hotel at all because I've been running around. Wednesday we had a total day off here, but I wrote a story on Andrew Height, who I think you know well, that used to work for the Marlins. You can tell him down in Florida, for the Twins, and he's the Wild's, for lack of a better term, team services coordinator. He does pretty much everything for him. It was a fun story to write. And then the second I filed that story, I drove up to Pompano Beach, and this was really neat. I went to a place called Glacier Ice Arena that used to be called Gold Coast Ice Arena, which when I started covering the league was the Florida Panthers practice facility, and it is a dump, man. I went there just because it's right now temporary home of the South Florida Hockey Academy that's owned by Olli Jokinen, Thomas Vokoun, and Radek Dvorak, and Ed Jovanovski and Sergei Krasov work for the school, and a couple other soon-to-be-named players as well. And so I got to hang out with Olli and Radek and really watch their unbelievable operation. They hired a guy named Jim Pizzatelli, who's the most famous medical trainer in the history of this league. He's the guy that saved Clint Blarchuk's life, and they have turned it into an NHL operation. I mean, from video to the way that these players are treated in terms of just recovery shakes and all sorts of things that you'd only get really in the NHL. Equipment managers, everything. And then a lot of their import guys actually go to St. Andrew's School in Boca Raton, where I'm from. So that was really neat. They're moving to the Panthers practice facility next year. But I'm going to be doing a big story on this hockey academy and just another example of how players today growing up have a gazillion different options of what they could do if they want to eventually play hockey in a fun basis and potentially get some education along the way with it.
young fans and young athletes have no idea what it was like back in the day. I want to continue that conversation. He's Michael Russo. I'm Jim Souhan. This is the Russo-Souhan Show. This is our hockey entity on the Minnesota Sports Podcast Network. You can find all the shows at mnspn.com. If you'd like to advertise with this show or the network in general, you can reach me at jsouhan@startribune.com. Thanks to our current sponsors, Twill in the Edina Galleria, Scott Dayton's men's clothing store, and one of my favorite spots in the Edina Galleria. Fixology Repair, fixologyrepair.com. We've told you about John Hedges and his shop out at the Mall of America, 3rd floor by Nordstrom's. He's also opening up a new shop in Minneapolis. Please check out this program for more details on that. John's great with everybody, but especially with the podcast listeners on this network. We'll tell you more about that. Sandvold Financial Group, Todd Moritz of Sandvold Financial Group, and Crown Bank, crown-bank.com. I was talking about this with Smalley the other day, Michael. You know, Smalley was a heck of an athlete, and he was kind of ahead of the curve in terms of what, baseball players would lift weights. So he was a guy who really took care of himself. And he was telling me that back in the day, major league clubhouses, about the only thing you get to eat in a major league clubhouse was ice cream or beer. Yeah.
Well, and he still keeps care of himself. It's unbelievable. When I first started covering the league, it was unbelievable, this little rink. You walked in the side door and you landed and you kind of arrived at, for lack of a better term, their secretary's kind of desk. Behind her was a makeshift closet where the equipment managers kept like extra supplies. You walk through one door and you have you had their workout room, their like fitness room that honestly had to be the size of most people's bedrooms. Then you make kind of a left hand. And by the way, these walls were all kind of temporary. Made a left-hand door, and you kind of were in this little tiny hallway that housed Doug McClain's office, Brian Murray's office, and Chuck Fletcher's office. And Chuck was basically sharing an office at this practice facility. Now, this wasn't their full-time offices. They did have offices in Fort Lauderdale, but this is where they practiced. Then you went a little straight, and it was just a tiny locker room, and then showers, and you took one little hallway to the right of the ice. And now, I mean, the Wild's fitness center that's going to be at their new practice rink is the size of the Wild's of the old Panthers practice facility rink. I mean, it's crazy how things have changed. In terms of food now, everything's about nutrition and making sure the Wild are going to have a full-time chef even that's going to take care of these guys and give people their specific diets. Everything is totally different now compared to the way they were yesteryear. If you were an athlete in the old days and you drank a protein shake, you got ridiculed. That was like taboo. It was like you were trying to put on airs or something. It's like the Twins won 2 World Series without a weight room, Michael. They didn't have a weight room. They had a few loose weights down, but you had to walk all the way down. They also didn't have a batting cage anywhere near their clubhouse. They had to walk down to the corner, the right field corner behind the bleachers and hit in something, that a high school player would sneer at today. It's amazing how much it's changed. One other note before we get to actual hockey, Andrew Haidt, he part of his job is being basically traveling secretary, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, exactly. That is another thing that the average fan just doesn't grasp is just how important that job is and how much those people are in demand, how much they have to take care of everybody on the roster. I know from my days on the beat, some of the crazy requests the traveling secretary would get from athletes. So Andrew's done very well for himself. Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting is that I feel like travel wise that I know every trick of a trade, but I'm doing it for one person. Right. I could not even imagine doing it for 50. And just even imagine just the little things like you book the plane, you book the hotel, you book the buses, blah blah blah, the meals, but then all of a sudden a couple guys get hurt, a trade is made, a couple call-ups are made. And you're constantly in contact with the hotel. You got to change this room. This guy's got to stay an extra day. This guy's now heading home. It's a constant, every minute changing thing. And there's all sorts of legalese as well. There's certain things like if you fly into Canada with the team, you got to fly back. There's all sorts of little things that he's got to keep track of. And then there's the CBA. There's a collective bargaining agreement that a lot of this stuff is dictated in. If a player is acquired, what percentage of his home basically you're still paying from back where he just came from, making sure that he's paid in the current city. There's just a whole host of things that we would never even think of. And, to me, it's an exciting job, but to be organized and not have your head spin on a daily basis, I think that, I would lose my mind at times. I mean, I even see it. I mean, people walk into his room, including media in his office a gazillion times a day with different requests, and how he keeps track of it without getting all stressed out is beyond me. And I've never seen him, at least, look overwhelmed, or, I'll sit there and ask him sometimes, hey, can I get a pass? Can you do this for me? Can you tell me what hotel you're staying in? And there's never a point of him that says, buddy, my job's not to deal with the media. He's always at anybody's beck and call, and that's just one facet of his job. He does everything from helping with player charities to being essentially a team concierge, getting gifts, getting dinner reservations, getting basically anything that you can think of that a player might have a request for. He takes care of that privately as well.
Yeah, I couldn't do that job, and I admire those who do it well. It's very difficult. Hey, let's talk some hockey here. I do want to thank Scott Dayton and Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com.
Hi, I'm Stacy Souhan. I love Twill, Scott Dayton's shop in the Edina Galleria. Twill takes the stress out of shopping by offering updated traditional fashion. I know that if Jim goes in there shopping alone, I will like what he buys, whether it's pajamas, flannel shirts, or suits. I plan to recommend Twill to my daughter when she has to buy wedding party gifts and attire. Twill in the Edina Galleria will bring your fashion game to a championship level.
So, you feeling any more optimistic about this team and its chances now they've kind of at least leveled out and played better?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that every time you lose, every time you win, you feel like they're going to go on this run, and every time they lose, you think like the bottom's going to drop out. And it's just because of where they are in the standings. I mean, just think of it from this standpoint. They've won 5 of the last 7 games, and they've lost a little ground and are technically outside the playoff bubble heading into this game against Florida today. And suddenly teams are starting to separate where the Wild are 9th, but they're 2 points back of the top wild card spot. But they're suddenly 6 or 7 back of that 3rd spot where, if they had beaten Edmonton, they would have been within 3 points of that spot. So, they're still very inconsistent. To me, they beat a minor league team against Ottawa the other night. That team's horrific, especially Craig Anderson this year. Like, you just knew that the Wild, even when they were down 2, were not out of that game because he is just terrible. And that team's been horrific. So I still want to see more. And tonight's game, and again, I don't know when you're publishing this, or posting this, but the game against Florida to me is a huge critical game because let's put it this way, to be nice, if the Wild can somehow steal a win in Tampa, that's just a bonus on this road trip. You're going in on a second of back-to-back game against an absolute powerhouse that has been killing teams, except for Vegas the other day, by the way, that they can light you up for fun. They score 4, 5, 6 goals a game. Their top line of Stamkos, Kucherov, and Nemestikov has been absolutely unbeatable. It is going to be a very tough game for the Wild to win in Tampa. So the Florida game is made more critical, and they're the team that they should beat tonight, which is why the Wild are going with Stalock tonight. A lot of questions I've received last week is, would you go with Michalik in game 1 and go with Stalock in game 2? And I'm like, no, you got to go with your best in Florida because you got to get 2 points against the Panthers. And then just pray to God that you can somehow figure out a way to get a point or a win in Tampa. And so I wouldn't throw Michalik to the Wolves tomorrow, but I do think that this team still has a long way to prove in a conference where they are clearly, I think, going to be battling to the very end to make a playoff spot this year.
I have more hockey questions. We have a lot of Twitter questions, but I have to ask, how's your mom?
She's good. I just spent a couple days up in Atlanta. She showered me with gifts, new ties, Starbucks card. She knows the way to my heart. Saw my brother, my sister-in-law, and my nephews. It was an awesome little fun couple days up there. Too short, but fun because I knew that I wouldn't get to go over there over Christmas. So it was fun. What
amount on a Starbucks card actually makes you giddy? I mean, does it have to be $5,000 or something?
No. that 5,000 would probably last me the year.
I doubt it. A week.
Yeah, maybe. But no, my mom always treats me well with the Starbucks cards. Let's put it that way. And then today I went to Starbucks and I bought like $300 worth of Starbucks cards to just hand out to gifts to family in the next couple of days when I'm up in Minnesota, family and friends. I really, I don't. It's kind of the lazy way out. Like, it's funny. Like, I go to the LaPantas, say Christmas Day, and he's got a huge family, and I just kind of like hand out Starbucks cards, like I'm handing out trading cards or like a deck of cards. Like, there's no emotion to it. I'm like, here, Merry Christmas. Here, Merry Christmas. So Margot, Anthony's wife, just always kind of makes fun of me that I just kind of like, here, Merry Christmas. I thought really hard on this one. And so today when I bought the Starbucks cards, I took a Snapchat of the receipt and sent it off to Margot just to show her, hey, worked hard again on the gifts.
Well, Shaver and I had this conversation the other day on our show, and I like when people give me lazy gifts, because if you give me a lazy gift, it means you're giving me something that's generic, which means I can use it anytime I want. Yeah. I can regift it if I want. Or it's like, like I was telling Ryan, if over the years, instead of getting me a crappy tie or a pair of socks or something that I'm going to throw away or put in my closet and never see again, which is, let's face it, especially in this day and age when we're all kind of selfish and we have internet services that we can order anything we want anytime we want. If all those people had given me a $25 gift certificate to Guitar Center, I'd have like 2 killer guitars instead of a closet full of crap.
Well, no, trust me. I'm never disappointed when somebody hands me a Star Wars card. It doesn't matter what denomination. So,
plus, and the other thing is, so if we actually got to a point where everybody's just giving each other cash for Christmas, then we could just dispense with the whole thing and say, okay, I'm going to give you like a fake $25. You give me a fake $25. We keep our money and just have a nice day and go on and buy what you want.
Well, my brother and I have started this thing where there's this it's this coffee club called, I think it's called Atlas Coffee Club, and every month they just send you a bag of coffee, and it's from some different part of the world, and they kind of send you a postcard of where the beans were picked from, but also then another postcard that kind of gives you kind of the details and explains the coffee and type of thing. And so I give him that, and he gives me that. So we're essentially offsetting.
Which is great.
He and I both love the gift.
Yeah, it's great.
Like every month. And with me, it sounds stupid that one bag of coffee with my brother and his wife, probably, I probably am filling them for 2 weeks maybe. Where me, because I'm home so seldomly. I mean, we were on the road, or by the end of this month, we've been on the road for, I think, 19 days. When I left, I just got another bag of coffee, and I wasn't done with the other one. So it just kind of piles up, and to me, I just absolutely love it. So
absolutely. So I think we're going to start a trend. This podcast network is going to start a new trend for all the holidays. We're going to change the way, and we're going to destroy the economy. Is what we're going to do. I also, to me, I do go the lazy way out for gifts, but I can't stand going to malls during the holidays. No.
My mom dragged me to Lenox Mall in Atlanta the other day, which is in the heart of Buckhead.
Yep.
I mean, it took from getting off the 400 to getting into the mall, which is a half mile from the exit. It took us about 15 minutes to get into it. And finally, I had to drop her off because I couldn't find a parking spot for 20 minutes. So I dropped her off at Neiman Marcus. And so, so while she was buying shoes, I was test driving Teslas, by the way.
Oh, good Lord. You're such a high roller now.
like a virtual
You're such
test drive.
A big shot now.
Yeah. Well, I've never actually sat in a Tesla. It's pretty amazing. And I just watched that Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where Larry David was driving Ted Danson's Tesla and honked a police officer. It was great.
Yes.
But but it was pretty awesome just kind of being one of those things. Unfortunately, I did the stupid thing of filling out the iPad with my name, address, and phone number. Holy mackerel. Like, Tesla actually thinks that I'm going to be able to afford to buy one. They are just emailing me galore.
You work for the unathletic. You're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be buying a Tesla, especially in Minnesota.
They're actually going to start making more affordable Teslas. I don't want to do a Tesla commercial here, but they're actually anyway, I'm going to skip that because I'm not doing Tesla commercials. But I will do one for Fixology Repair, John Hedges' place, third floor of the Mall of America, up by Nordstrom's, and listen to the podcast, listen to his ad for updates soon on a new shop, which I hope his business is doing very well.
There are some things in life that you just can't live without. Now, whether it's a special piece of jewelry, a watch, or even your smartphone, you want it in working condition. At Fixology Repair, we are committed to restoring your pieces so that everything works or fits the way it ought to. Watch servicing, chain repair, and broken screen replacements are just a few of the services that we offer at Mall of America. Please visit us at fixologyrepair.com or at FixologyMN on Twitter to learn more. Mention this ad and get a 10% discount on our services.
Mikko Koivu scores a goal. When is the parade, Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday, right?
Good.
Yep, Tuesday. Not exciting.
I'm very excited. So how's Mikko? Did Mikko actually get excited?
Yeah, he seemed to be. It was a huge goal. And what's really ironic about it is if you think about it, the last game against Edmonton, which probably would have won them that game if he had scored the deflection where Dumba intentionally shot it wide of the net for a redirection. It was a perfect deflection from the side of the net, puck heading like a foot wide, and he puts it right into an open net, and it hits the post. And what happens 2 games later? Same thing, perfect redirection from a puck going a foot wide, only on the other side of the net. And he catches Craig Anderson giving up the goal because Craig Anderson a minute before tried to, just look at the replay, tried to take his paddle and slash Koivu's stick. So Koivu just put his stick on the other side of the net and boom, redirection. So good goal. Finally, he was relieved. He admitted it to me. I got him aside yesterday. He was in great spirits. I did a really cool story in The Athletic on him talking about his father and how he was drafted here in Sunrise 16 years ago, and how his dad were kind of flashing back to how it kind of began for both of them here for Mikko's career. But, it's now he's got to build on it. Mikko Koivu should not be going 11 games without a point, and if he does, it's going to be a long season for the Wild. He gets too many minutes and too big of roles with too good of players on his wings for him to go 11 straight games without a point, let alone not score a goal for 24 games. So he's got to be better in all facets of the game. I think he knows that, and Bruce Boudreau is hoping for it.
A year ago, certainly 2 years ago, if the Wild had Devin Dubnyk and Zach Parise fairly close to coming back from injuries, we'd be like, wow, that's going to change everything. Do we still think of these players this way?
Well, the thing with Devin, he hasn't been out overly long,
right?
And he is 8-2-1 in his last 12. But obviously, I know fans have not been happy with his game for some time, and there have been some stinkers in there. Zach is, the difference with Zach is that we just don't know what you're going to see. Beyond the fact that he hasn't played a meaningful hockey game since April. Now he's coming off a back surgery that you just don't know how it's going to respond. And now you're also coming in the middle of a season when everybody's kind of ramped up going 200 miles an hour, and he's going to be coming back and everything's going to be quick for him. And it's going to take him a while. He's not at 34 years of age going to be able to, I think, or 33 years of age, whatever he is, going to be able to just step in there and just immediately just start producing on an every single basis. I think he's excited for it. But again, I've written it, I've said it. Fans that say he's got to change his game, it's just not going to happen. He is who he is. He's not going to suddenly become a guy that's going to, score from the perimeter and score streaking down the wing and take these long slap shots and things like that. I think last season he scored 2 or 3 goals max off actual shots. The rest are redirections and rebounds, believe it or not. And, and he's not coming off a great year. So I'll be interested. It's going to be a constant storyline. Hopefully for fans' sake and the team's sake that they get a boost from him and that he comes back playing well. And by the time that players actually start to wear down this year, he'll still be, fresh. That's at least the cliched view and half glass full view that the Wild are taking right now, that he's going to be a big acquisition because of these reasons, but we'll have to see.
From Vicky Stevens. Let's actually do some Twitter questions. Do want to thank Todd Moritz, Moritz, of Sandvold Financial Group for sponsoring the program. If you need any financial services and advice, we can recommend Sandvold Financial and Todd in particular.
Plan for tomorrow today. It sounds easy, but for many people it's not. The good news is, planning for your financial future isn't something you have to do all by yourself. Visit sandvoldfinancialgroup.com to request more information and ask for the tax-efficient insight of Todd Moritz, CPA.
Registered representative of and independent of Questar Capital Corporation. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Questar Asset Management.
Typically savvy question. Now that we're going to go to Twitter questions from Vicky Stevens. What were the top changes that came out of the last NHLPA contract, and what do you anticipate will be the key issues next time?
Well, God, talk about catching me off guard. I mean, I think the big issue will be escrow. These players, now again, I mean, they split the pie 50-50 in terms of league revenues, but the owners, there's an escrow that comes out of each player's check to make sure that at the end of the day it is 50-50. And if it isn't, if the owners collect more than the revenue that they're splitting down the middle, then the players get a check back at some point over the summertime. But these guys lose, I think the number is 14 or 15% of their paycheck right now. So that's the big thing, coming up, I think in a couple of years. Right now, I do think the owners, for the most part, are happy the way that things are going. Save for, the Wild being ticked off with the fact that there's cap recapture for Suter and Parisi in particular when they feel like they followed the rules of the old CBA and are being retroactively punished.
From NCNCarm8 on Twitter, do you think the D pairings of Suter, Murphy, Brodin, Spurgeon, Reilly, Olofsson, Prosser would be any worse than what is going on now, especially if the Wild could add an NHL quality forward? In other words, he's sending he's decided to trade Dumba, it looks like.
Oh, I see. I was totally gone. I don't know.
Dumba still has still has talent.
I do think those D pairs are not good enough.
Yeah.
I absolutely don't.
I mean, as frustrated as people get with Dumba, he's still one of the more talented guys on the team, and he still shows flashes where you go, "Wow, something good could happen here."
And I'm sorry, a 9-game sample of Ryan Murphy where he got a goal and an assist is still not Matt Dumba. And now Murphy, compared to the book on him, that he was kind of a light Matt Dumba, not getting nearly the points and being as much of a defensive liability when it comes to turnovers. We never saw that once in his 9 games. So maybe he learned his lesson and learned how to. He was playing with a safe guy in Brodin and obviously he was playing fairly very well while he was here. But to all of a sudden trade Matt Dumba and think that Ryan Murphy on a full-time basis is going to be the guy that's going to is going to replace him, I think is being a little foolish. It's a 9-game sample size for Murphy.
From Al Nordin, I think it's Nordin, who's the most promising defenseman and forward for the Baby Wild?
Al Nordin, my good buddy. They called me the D word on Twitter today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to not answer? We can move on.
No, I'll answer it. Obviously Luke Cunnin, he hasn't played great down there, but I would say that's the case. And then what exactly the way the question was worded?
It was worded, who is the most promising defenseman and forward on the Baby Wild?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would say it better be Cunnin. And, on Blue Line, I mean, obviously, I know fans are really happy with the way that Ryan Murphy played down there, but obviously there's Nick Seeler and Carson Soucy, too, that the Wild believe eventually have NHL promise. And so it would be definitely those two on the Blue Line and Cunnin up front. And, one guy that's playing really well, I just wonder if he'll ever get a shot, especially now that the Wild are getting healthy, is Sam Anis. He's putting up points. He's unbelievably skilled, but he's very undersized. But man, he's just starting to light it up lately. So that's good. And on The Athletic today, one of our freelancers, Brandon Slike, did a freelance piece on Mario Lucia and how his window is clearly closing here. Has not been, he's basically way behind on the depth chart and knows that he better get his game in order.
Interesting. More Twitter questions to come, thanks to Crown Bank, crown-bank.com, locations in Edina and Minneapolis.
Your banking relationship should match your lifestyle. And if your lifestyle is to live well, you want Crown Bank. You want a bank and a banker who will give you what you want and what you need without a hassle. Crown Bank is responsive. From ordering checks to making you a loan, they build a relationship with you that will help you get what you want so that you can live well. Crown Bank. It's a lifestyle choice and the place to do business. Member FDIC.
From Serious Mashup on Twitter, is Reilly what he is at this point? What could be his asking price in a trade?
Well, I mean, he's just... It's like he's, Bruce was talking about him the other day as being just kind of an enigma. He brought up the play that he made at home about 2-3 weeks ago, that unbelievable play where he wheeled around a defenseman in the offensive zone and set up Granlund for a goal. And then he said in the next shift, he looked like he'd never played the game before. And that's what he is that there needs to be consistency. He's still very reckless. I still go back to that game in Buffalo where he struggled dramatically, and just the plays that he were making where he'd have a forward in the corner and he would never give him even an out to pass. He'd be like skating up the ice with like two defenders in between him and the guy with the puck. And it's just like, what are you doing? And there just comes a point where he's got to wake up and realize, like, sorry, you're not a 60-point defenseman. You're not. And so if he wants to play a long career in the NHL, he needs to play a safer, more defensively responsible game. We've seen signs of it. But to go back to the Dumba thing, Dumba, still as good as he can be offensively, he still probably gives up more goals than he produces, right?
Yes.
Well, Reilly doesn't produce the points, so he's got to make sure that he is more like a Brodin. I hate to say, and so that's my thing with Reilly. So to get back to that, he might be who he is right now. In terms of what you can get from him, I don't think a ton. And then the other thing is, again, this team. I don't think they want to just give him away for a mid-round draft pick, but this team also is not in a position where it could just all of a sudden take on players on NHL salaries. They're at 50 contracts right now. So you trade him, that's fine. And if you get a guy back, you better make sure that he's not, that he's not making a fortune. So I think that's what Chuck Fletcher is weighing right now when it comes to Olofsson and Reilly. I know that fans were upset that Ryan Murphy was sent down, but they were preserving the asset. They could not get locked with 8 defensemen because Zach Parise needs to be activated, and they need to have a 23-man roster. Right now, they have 13 forwards on the roster. They could have been locked with 8D and then 2 goalies, so that when Parise comes back, that'd be 24, one over the maximum roster. So they had to send somebody down, and they were preserving the asset. But I do think that they are showcasing Reilly or looking to trade Olofsson because they just mentioned too many times that eventually Murphy will be back. Eventually Murphy will be back. Eventually Murphy will be back. And to me, that means that they're looking to maybe trade one of their young D.
Interesting. From Nick Johnson, could you talk about Eriksson Ek's development? The Ottawa game looked like a big step in the right direction for him.
Well, yeah, I mean, somebody said to me today, actually a writer at The Athletic, he was putting together a prospect list, and he said, do you consider Eriksson Ek still a prospect, or is he a player? And I still think of him as a prospect. I still put him in the same vein as Luke Cunnin. I don't think that he is an established guy yet. He's very well could see Iowa at some point. He's had 2 good games in a row. And frankly, I thought his first period in Chicago wasn't very good. Now, he ended with 4 shots. He had a couple steals, a couple scoring chances, but then he really built on it in Ottawa. I thought he was by far their best forward on the ice from a consistent point of view all game long when I rewatched the game. And finally what we're seeing with Eriksson Ek is a guy that not just forechecks hard and not just worries about being in the right spot, but he's playing with the puck. And when he's playing with the puck, he's showing his skill. And that's very important that he starts producing points. They didn't grab him in the first round to be a checker. They better not when they passed over Brock Besser to get him. So, the goal is for him to eventually produce points. And, Bruce Boudreau, and I'll put it in my story today, Bruce Boudreau talked yesterday about how he's seen this many, many years of a European coming over here. He plays, he doesn't produce, then all of a sudden he starts, but he learns the game. And then all of a sudden his second year, he scores 10 goals. And then boom, third year, he explodes. And we're in the first full season of Eriksson Ek. For anybody that thinks he's going to be a refined product at 20 years old, they're just fooling themselves. Now, Besser's a hell of a player. He's an unbelievable goal scorer. I still think the Wild should have taken him. But to think that Eriksson Ek is going to all of a sudden come over here from Sweden and just dominate at this level, it just doesn't happen for every player. And he reminds me a lot. I'm not going to say he's going to be as good as this player, but he reminds me of the maturation of Olli Jokinen. I sat with Olli Jokinen a couple days ago up in Pompano Beach for that story, and Olli Jokinen was out. Look at Olli's career. It's like, he was almost out of the league here in Florida, and then boom, he exploded, scored 30 goals, and became an all-star. And now I think he might be the leading scorer in the history of the Florida Panthers. So, I'm not saying that Eriksson Ek is going to be that, but to think that these guys can just come over here and be Patrick Kane right away when you're drafted 20th overall, it just doesn't happen.
From Andrew Silgen, I hope it's Silgen, not Silgen. If I get it wrong, I apologize. In the long term, who are the Wild going to regret losing more, Tuch or Haula?
Well, right now it's freaking Haula, man. That guy's been awesome. Vegas built their team the right way. They have openly said, when I talked to George McPhee for that story that I wrote on The Athletic about 3 weeks ago, he said that what they really looked at is they looked at every team in the league and said, find me third and fourth liners that on here would be on our first and second line, but on their team there's no way. But that clearly they have the talent. And Haula was that guy. In fact, his last year here, he was on the fourth line, basically. William Karlsson, another example, the kid that was on Columbus. I mean, he was fourth line there. And now he's one of the top scorers on the Vegas Golden Knights. Very few players, other than maybe David Perron, James Neal, were established guys in the top six roles of their teams. And Perron used to be, he wasn't so much in St. Louis last year. So Haula right now is 23, at least last I looked, 13 goals, 23 points. That'd be right up there in the top of the Wild. But, look, he never put him – he was behind Nico. He was behind Stahl. He was behind Coyle when Coyle was playing center. He never also – he went through a lot of droughts of spurts of inconsistency and never got himself in a position where he was able to climb the lineup. I do think that he's somebody that they, on those rare occasions, they gave him first and second line role. And there were those times when there were injuries, he didn't exactly make it, but it wasn't a large sample size either. It had to be something he was doing as well. I mean, it wasn't just Mike Yeo that had issues with him. It was Bruce Boudreau big time. So, good for him so far. He has found a home on a team that he went there with a total clean slate. He started off in a third line role, then had a little bit of an injury, came back. And last I saw, he was playing with guys like, when he was here in Minnesota, he was with Tuch and James Neal on a scoring line. And I think the other night he was playing with Marchessault, which you're going to score if you were playing with that guy. They have built that team right. But, maybe long run they're going to miss Tuch. But right now, holy mackerel, the way the third line is and having trouble finding a center all year long for this team, they do miss Haula.
No question. From Russo's Filter, is Cullen in the Hall of Fame discussion? Stats probably say no, but what's the value of 2 cups?
No.
I was going to say that.
No.
I'm glad you agreed with me. From Vinny LaPanta, go Wombats.
No way.
Yes.
Wow. Vinny LaPanta on Twitter.
Chirping. How about that? You know what, though? I will say this. Vinny LaPanta just sent a tweet of 2 words. Anthony LaPanta has never had a 2-word sentence in his entire life, print or verbally or orally.
Yeah. Wombats is the name of the championship AJ LaPanta, Vinny LaPanta fantasy hockey team from last season.
I kind of figured it was something like that, yeah. Well, thanks for chiming in, Vinny. Good to hear from you. From Bill on Twitter, is Olofsson being scratched to showcase Reilly, or has his play been that inferior?
I think both. I do think both. Again, Chuck Fletcher, I think I said this on the last podcast. I've heard a lot of chatter out there that Reilly's available via trade. I went to Chuck with that, and Chuck swore up and down that couldn't be further from the truth. But, even since, I've heard the same thing from people that should know. So, I don't know.
Interesting. From Jeremy, one spot out of the last wild card, 2 months till the trade deadline. Buy to save jobs or stay put to save picks?
Well, after the amount of picks and what he gave up at the trade deadline last year, I think that Craig Leopold probably should keep an eye on whether Chuck what Chuck gives up at the trade deadline this year. I don't know if the Wild will even have the ability financially at that point. And the other thing, I mean, this is the danger of having a GM in the last year of his deal is that you create the perception that you're potentially making moves to save your job, and that's why it's always dangerous, and why most teams, at least prior to this year, before there were 6 or 7 GMs on the last year of their deal, most teams don't want to have a GM that's kind of the, for lack of a better term, lame duck GM. So we'll have to see where the Wild are come trade deadline in the end of February.
You think Craig Leopold would tell Chuck, don't make a deal under these circumstances?
It really depends. I just, if Craig's going to do something like that, you might as well just fire the guy, right? I mean, that's the thing. You gotta let the guy operate the team like he's going to be around forever, and that's the danger, is that you're. Although, how would we know the difference if Chuck gives up a bunch of trade? If Chuck gives up a bunch of draft picks, it's like we can say, "See,
that's a great point."
He's trying to save his job.
Chuck has always operated like a lame duck GM.
Yeah. Somebody took a. So our freelancer today wrote this Mario piece, and the guy in the story wrote what the Wild gave up to move up in the draft to get Mario, and it was to replenish a pick that he traded in the Kovacic trade. And so the guy, this one person that tweeted, took the graph that our guy wrote, put it in there, and he goes, "I'm going to go retreat to my happy place right now." And that was the first ever trade, other than Brodziak. Brodziak was a draft day trade, but the first ever trade that Chuck Fletcher made in 2009 was that trade that sent Falstrom to Boston with a couple picks, because the Wild got off to just a horrendous start. I think they won one game, if that, in their first 7 or 8 games. I remember we got back from Vancouver. I was walking to Lund's, and all of a sudden I get the call that the Wild traded for Chuck Kobasu. And that's when I came back, and that was kind of the beginning of the trend of Chuck Fletcher trading away draft picks.
I remember your reaction. You walked into the press room, and you just threw your laptop on the ground and said, "I'm not covering a team that has Chuck Kobasu on it."
Yeah. That actually might be something I did say.
A couple more Twitter questions. As always, we're not going to get to all of them. There's so many good ones. We appreciate you sending them in. We'll try to get as many as we can, but we just can't do 200 of them, and we get about 200 of them. We'll come back for Michael for a couple more Twitter questions. For Michael's always scintillating final thought, do want to thank McLean Trucking and the Holiday of Hope program.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. McLean Company has a career for you. McLean driver teammates have guts, grit, and a go-getter attitude, and they're looking for more of it. McLean offers an average first-year pay of $55,000 to $65,000 a year, health benefits on day one, and an industry-leading 401k plan. And experienced drivers may receive up to a $10,000 sign-on bonus. To learn more, visit driveforbrooklyn.com. That's driveforbrooklyn.com. McLean Company is an equal opportunity employer.
From Derek G. Johnson, a loyal listener, who would bring a better return in a trade, Olofsson or Reilly?
Probably Reilly.
Yeah. Let's see.
I feel like we haven't heard from Derek J. Johnson in a long time.
And sometimes I just don't get to all the Twitter questions. And sometimes people send them in. They see the notification. They send it in after we've already done the show, and I don't want them to feel like they're getting blown off. It's just that there's so many.
Yeah, you might want to go way back in your mentions, but I think it was 2 or 3 hours ago that I started asking people for questions. So I feel bad for those people.
Yeah, I do too. I might have missed that. Let's see. From Nate on Twitter, when are we going to see number 14 with some offensive players?
14 with some offensive players? Well, I mean, he played with Stahl and Granlund. Was it Stahl and Granlund or Stahl and Nino in Chicago? And the second and third period he started to play better. But right now they want Coyle playing wing, and if that's going to be the case, then Eriksson Ek's got to play center. And I agree with you. It's not the most. To me, it's not a line that is long term going to score a bunch of goals. And but hey, Stewart scored a big one the other night on that line.
Last Twitter question. Then Michael Russo's always. We should get that sponsored. Michael Russo's always scintillating final thought from NC on Twitter. Who are the best GMs in hockey right now?
Well, Steve Yzerman, Jim Rutherford, I'd say, David Poyle. probably the top three that just go to my head. Yzerman, who is, by the way, offered the job before Chuck Fletcher in 2009, and has obviously built just a juggernaut in Tampa Bay. And, Rutherford always seems to figure out a way to get it done when I thought that a lot of people thought that he was done, maybe including me when he was in Carolina there at the end. And Poyle, in a league where everybody always says, oh, it's so hard to make a trade, he always figures out how to make a trade, a big trade usually too. He'll trade anybody from Shea Weber to Ryan Johansson to acquiring Kyle Turris. I mean, he figures out ways to make some bold moves.
Michael's final thought coming up. Thanks to all of our sponsors. Twill in the Edina Galleria. Easy place to shop. Easy shop to shop in. Awkward sentence, but it's true. Fixology Repair, fixologyrepair.com. Check out John's ads for a new location. Might be more convenient to you. Let's see. McLean Trucking's Holiday of Hope program. Crown Bank, crown-bank.com, and Todd Moritz, Moritz, of Sandvold Financial Group. That's Sandvold, S-A-N-D, V as in victory, O-L-D. Michael, your final thought.
Not really a final thought other than I forgot how bad drivers are down in Florida. That's my biggest thought right now.
The roads are better, the drivers are worse.
They are just, it is unbelievable. I mean, I could say with all due respect or no offense, but I grew up down here, so I feel like I have the right to say it. It's the worst drivers in the world. I mean, I forgot how cars just stop in the middle of the road here with not even a green or red light in sight. They just stop. And we're getting on the highway just now, and I make a left on State Road 84 to come to my hotel. And the person in front of me, this kind of old BMW, I don't see the head of the driver. And then all of a sudden I see the head of the driver. And I'm like, and then the guy's just sweeping all over the place. And then I'm going past him again, and he almost goes in my lane, and because he's trying to pick something up, like between the driver's car seat and the door, and he's going 50 miles per hour on the service road, just with his head basically down by the mirror. And I'm like, how dumb are you? What possibly could have fallen that is so important that you would be going 55 miles per hour right now and, almost break your neck to pick it up and almost take out about 3 drivers? It's just unbelievable.
Well, I'll tell you what, Michael, there's a reason so many great writers love writing about Florida, whether it's Elmore Leonard or Randy Wayne White or Carl Hyacin. I'm leaving about Dave Barry. There's a reason they love writing about Florida, because you've got backwater people, you've got indigenous people, you've got swamp people, you've got felons, you've got rich people, you've got snowbirds, you've got retirees, you have this just bizarre stew of humanity, and you got Cuban refugees, you have every demographic you can possibly have, all wedged into a place and all walking around in the sun in tank tops. Weird stuff happens.
It was just the reason why I changed hotels was because, and I'm glad I did. It took me. My hotel that I checked out of just now, which was that incredible one, is 8 miles from the hotel I'm at right now. It took me an hour and 10 minutes on a Saturday to get to. Now, of course, I picked the freaking time where all the ships docked, and I was coming out during cruise traffic. But it was a frustrating half hour just to get on 595 from the ocean. So that's why I actually probably should go, because I got to get to the arena, and even though I'm 5 miles away, it'll probably take me an hour.
One more Twitter question, just because a good one came in. An awesome alias is the Twitter handle. What is the most you've inconvenienced yourself or others to get Starbucks points? That's a great question.
Well, I didn't get points for this, but the just buying about 15. I asked the barista, I'm like, would you care if I bought 20 Starbucks cards right now? And she's like, buddy, he goes, earlier today a woman came in and got 50. So don't worry about it. But inconvenienced, I mean, I am definitely the king of I could be driving and there could be 3 coffee shops between me and a Starbucks and a mile, and I will definitely drive to the Starbucks. I mean, I'm sure there's better. Oh, I could think of one. Lavelle. A couple of years ago, I think I was flying to Hawaii, and Lavelle was covering a Giants game. at the and just he and I just happened to run into each other at the San Francisco airport. And he goes, "What are you doing?" Ask him about this. He goes, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I'm walking to Starbucks. So he thinks he's just going to walk with me down the hall, and I made him walk 3 concourses with me. Like he almost missed his flight just to get a Starbucks, and we're passing like a Pete's Coffee and a Dunn Brothers. And it was funny. And finally, I'm pretty sure he tweeted about it, but I made this guy walk like 3 concourses with me just to get a Starbucks. So it was funny.
Starbucks is in unawareness and their inability to actually commit to a financial deal with this network when you are the ultimate Starbucks. I know. It's the reason Starbucks is failing as a business.
Yes, exactly. I don't think they're really failing as a business. I
was kind of joking.
Jim.
Yes, I was kind of joking, Michael. Yeah. Michael, great stuff. Enjoy Florida. We'll see you next week.
Okay, see ya.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
Blah, blah, blah.
Holiday tips and fun facts from Paul, Kristen, and Dexter at Total Wine & More.
There's something celebratory about Bubbles. Our ridiculous selection of champagne and sparkling wines will make the holidays pop.
Who couldn't use a friendly wine elf? I can help you find the perfect bottle at just the right price.
Deep frying a turkey this year? A rich and earthy Chateau Neuf de Pop would make an interesting pairing.
Whether you're entertaining or just bringing the wine, we'd love to share our always low prices and ridiculous selection with you this holiday. Now offering same-day delivery at TotalWine.com. Cheers!
From the kids to Aunt Sue. Keep your whole family connected on all their devices with crowd-pleasing gig speed internet from Xfinity. Now that's simple, easy, awesome. Go online, call 1-800-XFINITY or visit today. Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed.